Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation, for the conference actually representing the work of Reut Institute. My friends Asaf Yotam, Sybil, who's here, Daphne, who's not here today, who are doing this on our behalf. First of all, I would like to say a few words praising the institution, the INSS, Udi Amos, some things that we are competing. You took this to a whole different level. You're the place where the most important discourse is happening regarding our national security outside the government, and well done for that. You can now step down. You said it all. It's okay. Well, I'd like to start with a question I heard from General Gershon Cohen. What is national about security? And this is a question that should be given some thought. And if we look at national security, as was done here, from the point of view of the state of Israel, Israel-centric, as we refer to it, I would like to say, bottom lines, we have never been better. Although, some of the things that were said earlier, Palestinians were never weaker. I'm not sure if it's good, but that's the case. Other Arabs were never more distributed. The relationship with the United States, I guess, was never better. So everything is fine and dandy. The second thing that I could have done is I could have gone into the discourse of the national security perception with all those terms that you heard about: deterrence, warning, superpowers, resilience. The army has to do with the home front, a very, very elaborate, complex discourse. We are at the end of the second day. These guys made sure that we send our presentations ahead of time, so I had to bet on what you would not want to hear, so I'm skipping this. The other thing I want to share with you, based on our work at the Reut Institute, there are 6 revolutions required in this area, in this space called security perception, a new treaty between security and society. There is an absurd situation regarding service in the army and the reserves. There's a necessary deep reform in the whole array of embassies. It is irrelevant regarding the foreign relations as far as the structure goes. We have to think about our foreign ministry in the 21st century. We all talk about delegitimization. We have to have excessive legitimization, the entire issue of Jewish majority, army supremacy. We heard about Israeli contribution to humanity. We know that these connect between states. Israel has to remain relevant. There are many more things that we can include, and of course we come to the moment of truth. This moment of truth is not whether Israel will or will not take Kerry's suggestion, as we could have gathered from Minister Stein's presentation, but perhaps, as Tom Friedman said, they will decide that this is the end of the two-state solution as far as they are concerned, and Israel has to think about it herself alone. Where does it want to take its future? This could happen in near future. So everything that was said here in some form or another, I want to put it all aside and go back to the question, what is national about security? This is the Declaration of Independence. You see the word, it puts Israel in the context of the Israeli context. And Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister, insists the world recognizes that Israel is the national home of the Jewish people. What connects to the fact that Israel is the national home of the Jewish people? Where is this discourse happening? And by the way, I saw Yuval Giladi here in the National Security Council. What is the connection between the strength of Israel and the resilience and our flourishing? This is one answer. One of the answers is the fact that we were a whole network of small units, and this network is highly resilient. And even when we lost main segments of this network, in the Spanish expulsion, the Holocaust, etc., the network started recuperating, and within a very short time frame, it came back to a whole full network. Today, we're actually States 80% and 40% here, 40% in the other place. If you understand about networks, you know that this is far more It's much more vulnerable. Zionism wanted to take us from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. According to the network perception, we know that the left-hand side is much more vulnerable. In other words, if all Jews were here in the state of Israel, national security, if we can refer to it as such, would have been in a problem. This does not happen, of course. Diaspora is flourishing more than ever. There are a million people who used to be Israelis and decided to go and live elsewhere. The leadership of Israel sometimes conducts itself as if this is the reality. And we have a great challenge, because managing the relationship between us and the United States and us and the United States Jewry is the main component of national resilience and the security of the Jewish people. So what do we have? We have the acme of power, but maybe it's a moment of great vulnerability. We're mixing things for the Americans in their backyard in many dimensions. Bogey against Kerry. We're not going to talk about that. I do recommend that Aviv Kochavi takes this person and show him the last segment Jon Stewart put on his Daily Show. It is an amazing input for Israeli security. Primetime TV, Israel is presented as one who's undermining American interests. The leaders of Israel are more extreme than the Iranian leaders. Third thing, sanctions against Iran. The state of Israel here, directly and indirectly, in Congress, is working against the decisions and resolutions of the President of the United States. Very serious people in America think that exercising the relationship with Iran is of their interest. Romney, Netanyahu, Falcon, Deal, and there's a whole group in American Academy that puts a great question mark on the way that America and Israel are conducting their relationship. On top of that, and I think that I know that this doesn't have to do with our security, an ongoing crisis between Israel and American Jewry. Photos tell it all. Anat Hoffman from the Western Wall Women, she is there praying with a praying shawl, and she is being taken into custody. There's no American Jew who doesn't know the story and does not go against it. The one at the bottom, Rabbi Avi Weiss, an Orthodox rabbi, Zionist rabbi, that cannot testify in the Israeli rabbinical court. J Street, they claim to be pro-Israel. They talk about two-state solution. For a long time it was boycotted by Israeli government. Peter Weinroth several days ago wrote an article where Obama represents Jews in the United States than most organizations. Look at this. These photos, these two focal points are growing apart. The question is, how do we define it, Israel or the Jewish people at large? And so my claim is that when we talk about this national security of the Jewish people, we have to take into account two things: the linkage that cannot be disengaged, and the fact that the United States system is growing weaker and growing further away. So let's talk about the vision. Israel is 75 years old. A decade forward. First of all, a window of opportunity, a huge window of opportunities, 2 weeks of political stability on the level of the parliament. It's true that members of Knesset are threatening, but let's remember that no parliament ever was disintegrated. This was only 1995 when it happened. 40% of Knesset members, and Knesset member Merav Michaeli could tell you, were not re-elected. They didn't want to go to elections. No, you can do big things. The other thing, if the state of Israel wishes to stay relevant as far as its security perception goes for the Jewish people, it has to go back to strengthen the Jewish networks, the various communities, the layout of Jewish communities. The last thing before I conclude, Ben-Gurion, as was mentioned here, had this amazing process, a seminar of consolidating Israeli security perception. We need a new seminar. We need to re-evaluate our national security, but it's not going to be amongst generals, professors, and ambassadors, because national security for the state of Israel in the 21st century is a project of Israeli society and not Israeli government. And so the ones who need to be involved in the process is Israeli civilian society, and not only this closed fused group of leaders in academy. And I'd like to conclude here and say thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. Good evening.